to the A-Stream desk. My name is Jess Goat, and I'm with Fresh to bring you yet another game here in the group stages inside of Gävle, Sweden. And before we move ahead, I want to hear you say the name of the town that we're in.
I've been practicing.
Oh, you've been practicing? Good,
yeah,
go ahead.
Can do a little drum roll.
All right, ready?
Gävle.
Oh, the man can do it. The man can speak Swedish. He's fluent, actually. Have you heard that?
Do you know, funny fact, I've actually been speaking, because I've been learning French because I've been out in Paris. I've been speaking French everywhere I go, and I'm confusing the Swedish people by speaking French to them and then being English.
Well, that's a confusing mixture for me, but nevertheless, it's something that's probably not as confusing as to whatever Fresh is trying to speak here in Gävle, Sweden, is the fact that we have two very strong teams coming in, going head-to-head now. There's been some blowouts so far, which has been a little bit disappointing, but I don't think this one will be quite as much as a blowout because we have BDS going up against Soniqs. And well, let's just get straight into the depth of things. Let's bring up one of our favorite teams from Europe, BDS, the major favorites. I'm going to say it. Let me say it. Major favorites for me. BDS, they got to the semi-finals in Mexico. They went up against one of the best teams in the world at that time. They got, very, very close. I think this is their major to take because let us not forget that whilst BDS has been one of the best teams inside of Europe for a very long time, they've never won an international trophy. Now is their time. That's
an incredible statistic. Never won an international trophy. And what's their expectations here? It's got to be to win it, right?
It has to be. What else is left?
It has to be win it. Anything else is a failure, I would guess. They're just so good. And it's a very bland statement, that.
It
and
really is.
I'll build upon that by saying they had weaknesses a year ago.
They did.
18 months ago. Map pool was small.
Yep.
They were counterable.
Okay.
They didn't adapt. Mm-hmm. They did the same thing every round, no matter what they faced. And they've worked on all those problems. They have a 7-map pool. It says where's Mount Villa. They will play it. They played it against this opposition in Mexico.
Did.
Adaptation. They have a plethora of attacks now. Mm-hmm. They can go through any different attacks.
Yep.
They are great in-round adapting.
Yet they are, which has been a very important adaptation of them in the recent times.
Counterability mentality. They've picked up a coach. So they now have the perfect trio of sports staff. They've got a manager. They've got a coach. They've got an analyst. Every weakness they've had, they've turned into a strength. To the point where when you talk to EU teams about them, they will say, BDS have to have a bad day or we're not winning this game.
That is something that you yourself faced when you very naively tried to counter BDS back in the day. Am I recalling this correctly?
I mean, you said naive. Pengu will say about this. We had one night in the hotel. This was at 6th Invitational 20. Yep. G2 played them in groups. We did a full counter-analysis document on them in Cafe. We made Pengu play Monty.
Yep.
Fabian was on the Glaz, I think it was. Uno was playing the Fuse. Because BDS had that thing where they were stuck in, we do plan A.
Sure.
If plan A works, we do plan A again. If it doesn't work, we do plan A again. And we managed to counter them that way. That is BDS of old. That doesn't exist anymore. They will just default to plan B, C, D until they win.
Well, speaking of a team that is maybe even more rigid than the old BDS was back in those days, it is their opponents hailing from North America. It's the Soniqs. And of course, this roster, I feel like, has one of the most well-rounded roster that we can see. Of course, do forget those nicknames on your screen right now. Cover your right eye so that you don't see them. That is not the exact roster that we're going with here, but instead we have Rexon, Grixa, Kansan, Yeti, and Super as part of that roster. And of course, there has been a lot of love for this roster because they've done really well in their regional league.
Yeah, it's somewhat surprising. They've managed to break into that echelon because when you thought about North America, you thought about TSM, SSG, you thought about Oxygen, and you would think about Dark Zero as the top 4 teams that would go to every event. Soniqs have broken that mold. They're in that top 3, 4 consistently now. And there's a question mark about Super. Especially as coming in from somebody who doesn't watch NAL every week, if you might not watch it, if you're European or you're from APAC. Super's stats are the lowest in the tournament.
Okay.
But he is that good of an IGL, he enables the other 4 players. And I kind of compare him to how Secretly operates at Na'Vi, where those stats aren't going to be good on that player, but the other 4 player stats are significantly better because of that player being on the team. And I've spoken to people in NAL and they say, if you're in the arena when Soniqs are playing and you're just listening to them, you know exactly what is going on in that round because you hear Super talking, and he guides his team through the round. You know exactly what is going on. It is not mayhem. He guides them through, and that is the trademark of a good IGL for me.
Well, he's also their support main, which is what generally most traditional IGL roles will play, and as a result, he's got a few plants to his name as well. So he's getting the bomb down, he's talking his team through, he's got quite a lot of leadership. So whilst the stats might point out a certain picture, let them not fool you that this team is one to be reckoned with and one that I thoroughly enjoyed watching in Mexico because of their objective-focused playstyle. I enjoy watching teams that do focus on those objective plays. That's exactly what Soniqs did then. Have they changed a little bit? I doubt it. I think that they've still got that rigidity about them, which is not bad by any means, but it depends on the map that they want to go to. Speaking of, I believe we have the map bans ready for you, and they'll come up on the right-hand side of your screen, but if you're just happening to listen to us right now, we will rattle them out for you. BDS will ban Chalet, followed by Soniqs getting rid of Cafe. Then BDS says, no, we don't want to go to Oregon, which is fair enough, and in return, Soniqs says, no, we'll get rid of Bank, followed by BDS banning Villa, and the last two left over are Coastline and Clubhouse, to which Soniqs says, we like a bit of Clubhouse, we love a bit of Germany, how about it?
I had this pinned as a coast or a club, so I'm quite happy about that.
Good.
It felt with the team's map pulls that's where we were heading, coast, club, or Villa. Now, Villa's an interesting one because these two teams played each other in Mexico. BDS, they were in each other's group, right? So they played two best ones against each other. BDS won 7-1 on Consulate and 7-3 on Villa. So I'm somewhat surprised to see Villa removed by BDS, even though it is a low preference map for them. But Coastline Clubhouse felt where the natural map for these two teams would be.
So as a result of knowing now that we're going to Clubhouse, which team do you think has the more preferential, I guess, advantage moving into it?
BDS, and BDS by far. And the reason I say this is I was talking to Blue last night, and he was saying that when you get Soniqs on a map such as Clubhouse, that forces Yeti to be on the secondary hard breach role, the Maverick or the secondary hard breach, it relies on the other three members of that team performing, because it's almost like you've got two, I don't want to say Deadwood, but two players that are playing support, and Yeti kind of can play, he can flex around, right? He can have these big days, but if you get him on the Clubhouse where he's got to play Maverick, he doesn't have those big days, and therefore the team around him and Super have to put up those numbers. If they don't put up those numbers, it can be a rough story.
Well, we're looking for the gunners on the side of Soniqs to step up today, really make that space that they're needing, because Clubhouse is still to this day, even with the remake, even with the nice little touch-up that we had recently to Coastline, Clubhouse, etc., it is still a map that requires you technically to really think about your team play on attack, especially getting those walls, those hatches open, etc. You can't be losing integral parts of your push and your utility early on. So does BDS meet them at the door, start firepowering to get rid of them early, or do they themselves play the strategy game and use the time to their advantage? Did you manage to spot, because I think BDS might start on the attack for this?
I believe they probably will. A lot of teams like to start defense on Clubhouse. BDS themselves, if they're given the option, start attack. So because of that, they often start attack on basically every map, and BDS are a formidable attacking team. There was a game, and I think it was stage 2 of EUL against Vitality on Clubhouse, where BDS just found rounds. They were outclassed in the round, and they just found a late round way to push and win the attacks. A staple kind of halftime score on this attack for BDS is like 3-3, 4-2.
Right.
That's what they're expecting on the attack of Clubhouse. So they will be comfortable starting attack.
Well, I am getting confirmation that because Soniqs got to choose the map at the end and they decided to go to Clubhouse, BDS got to pick which side they started on as a result, and BDS went, you know, we'll stick with the usual defensive start here. So they've decided to start defense, which is fair enough, because putting Soniqs onto the back foot on a map where you might be able to take that first half cleanly, you could play the mental game as well as you move on throughout this match.
Yeah, and BDS are very good at punishing those teams that... Clubhouse is a checklist map. You go 1, 2, 3, and you plant.
Like a recipe.
Yeah, it literally is a recipe. By the way? Yeah. Sorry?
Can you cook anything?
I can cook, yes.
Okay, so tell me one of the dishes you're best at
making.
I do
a fantastic Sunday roast.
Okay, so what's the first step?
What, of cooking? You plan it.
Of the roast?
Of the roast. It's planning it all out when you're doing a roast dinner.
Yeah, mate. What is step number 1 on the recipe? You get out the meat and you do what?
Oh, You're testing me now, Jeff.
Mate, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot have Fresh on Soniqs because he doesn't know how to do step by step. We can't have you on a team.
Do you know what? When I do a roast dinner, I literally plan it out. I'm like, I want to eat at 7 p.m. and I work backwards. So.
All right. Well, I don't
know how we got onto roast dinners.
You know, I wanted to see whether
we were talking about recipe
step
books. Yeah. Okay.
I wanted to see, and I don't trust you now. So.
I'll cook you a Sunday dinner when we're back in Paris. There we go.
All right. Well, I'm going to put that on social media when that turns out to be an absolute disaster.
No.
Look at the man on our screen, though. Speaking of support staff, you and I used to be support staff. You very recently getting relegated, me just barely escaping relegation.
Thanks for that little dig there, Jess.
Absolutely. Don't worry, I put my own self-dig in there as well. This man behind Soniqs right now is someone who I would say lives around the numbers.
Yep.
He would wake up and think of numbers, go to bed and think of the numbers, and he himself has decided that the strategy that Soniqs should employ should be fact and number based. What do you think about this? Because I used to use a bit of a fusion.
It's difficult if you live and die by the numbers because the game isn't played on a statistical basis or on paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's played in the server. It's often mentality based. It's often confidence based.
Mm-hmm.
If players will make those plays or not and how they read the game rather than the specific numbers. But who am I to question it? Because this team went from a lower team in NAL to a consistent top 3 team. If they carry on that improvement arc.
Well, who knows exactly what will happen, but I believe, and I'm getting confirmation that we have been able to teleport Hap and Fluke from Stream B over to Stream A to cast this game for us in their debut here on Stream A. They were on Stream B before, but now we are lucky enough to have them grace our Stream A. So when we come back, they'll be bringing you into this match of Soniqs versus BDS in their first match of the group stage.
And hello everybody, straight from the B stream to the A for what is a game I am super excited about.
I'm super excited for it as well. BDS, of course, our European flagship, we can almost call it, to go up against the Soniqs. They themselves have said, this is, the first major that was just getting some experience. We want to do better this time as well. And of course, there is a lot of experience on the team as well, you could say, but especially Super, who has been a crucial part of the team. I know many people would ridicule him for his stats, but you could literally listen to him and know exactly what's going on.
This was it. So, okay, let me paint a scene here. It's the first international play in a long time, since obviously Mexico. It's so great to be able to interact with not only obviously the teams and the players and see how they hit heads, but also the people that are in the room and have listened to the games that happen, because NAL, if you are somehow unaware, but I'm assuming we've got a good mix of EUL and NAL fans in the chat, it's all in a room. It's in a big old LAN space all the time. And it's been cited that if you close your eyes and listen to Super IGLing, you know exactly what's happening. And apparently, and this is the words of, I believe it was Lycan potentially, that had a conversation with Des about this stuff, where he said no other IGL in the game can do that. Like, paints everything going on. And if you need a story painted, well, BDS, they love painting the pain game.
They definitely do, and there was an interview, of course, with Elems, and he said, I want us to walk into the room and I want people to be afraid of us, with the amount of skill that we're bringing. And, you just need to mention one name, even though there are 5 big names. Shaiko, the only player, or one of the only players, to drop consistently over 100 kills per stage.
That's it.
And he's leading 3 out of these 6 top leaderboard charts.
I mean, I think the thing about BDS as a team and as a squad, coming into this, maybe my favorite stat about any of the sort of teams that are pulled together is only 3 teams from the recent 3 months of play are coming in where every single player is positive. on KD. It's FaZe, it's SSG, and it's BDS. Every single player can put up a fight. And in our current meta, where we're often finding explosive fights happening in peculiar places, you're never really sure in what is turning into a very attacker-driven meta. The pace is set by the approach. You don't really know where the pool's going to come from, no more so than an international play. But, as you said at the beginning of this, Soniqs in this group, a tough group. When you've got, obviously, NIP, as reigning SI champions, Invictus, who as a team have a huge amount of international experience across the years. And for them, although obviously they've got Super, who's a very storied player, it's a fresh squad, it's a young squad.
Yeah.
And it's a team that, in Mexico, in their words, that was them getting an international taste. All right, boys, lessons learned. Let's see what pieces together, because you guys met at Mexico, and it was a 7-1 Consulate and a 7-3 Villa.
Yeah, that wasn't really going too well there for the Soniqs, but, you know, let's see how it will be going this time around. The one worry I would have, though, is that, you know, there is some talks about it maybe being a bit of a top-heavy team. Rexon and Grixer, they do a lot of the fragging on the team, so if they have a bit of a quiet game, who will be there to step it up? Whereas on BDS, the thing we've been praising them for is that if it isn't Shaiko, it is Alems. If it isn't Alems, it's Renshiro. If it isn't Renshiro, it's Bree-Day that just clutches every single round in the world you can imagine. And that is a very strong team to go up against.
Yeti wasting no time in trying to close down across the top floor. It's a waste of time is the play that they're going for here. The extension, obviously, with Alems playing on the Vigil role to see if he can cause as many problems as possible. Massively vocal. Alems is a player who drives a huge amount of energy into a squad that thrives around that cacophony of audio as Renshiro opens it up, takes care of Grixer, and Kansan starts to suffer outside on the Jacuzzi side. Renshiro does too. A bit of a back and forth as the split comes through, concerned about Logi Hatch, but that's why Alems is picking up sticks and seeing if he can offer some countenance elsewhere.
Shaco now showing up to the party as well. Know that there is going to be the opening and there is the opportunity that some of these players are coming to flank around. Drones now will be shown. Shaco, well aware of the position that he is in, is currently exposed, and as the angles are being opened up, it's Shaiko with a beautiful kill. Kansan gets shut down. There's still another one left though on the Jacuzzi hallway. It's Super itself. And he wants to make sure that they at least are going to be able to trade him out to continue their potential plan and victory in this round.
Rexon has been able to creep his way into Lounge underneath. Going to see if he can take the fight with Alems, who will have some audio and awareness, but it's a very long, terrifying stretch, and he takes one. Yeti gets the team kill. They try to double down. Rafal gets the lock off on the trade on Super, finding Shaiko above. The spray comes through. Downs an already injured Renshiro. The pings are on the cams. He should be able to solidify that kill. Unfortunately, doesn't know entirely where he's suffering from. It's behind the far side. It's the whiskey corner. There's a couple of cap cans dropped down, but now he's too injured to try and quick burst through that Aruni gate. Does have frag grenades in pocket, and 40 seconds is going to try and use the first to confirm a kill that he doesn't know he was already close to, as it drops down all the way into the
bounce back.
It bounced back. A little bit more damage to himself. 30 seconds now. The diffuser's on the top floor. It's far away from any pickup. There's at least one of the confirmation, but it's Bree-Day to lock off the BDS round.
That one was being watched there. A very quick round to start off this game in. It is going to be, of course, BDS to take this one home first on their defense here in Clubhouse. It started off strong. Also, beautiful shot there from Shaiko, of course. Just that quick reaction speed. That is what we're used to see from him. This one sees the gun, knows exactly when to get at it. And Yeti, well, he tried to take the kill on the Lems before his teammate would fall. Unfortunately, took his teammate with him. And that leaves us with that first round done. Not really anything in a utility game that is being played. It was more of a frag-heavy round. It was just angles being opened up, trades being introduced into the round, and the diffuser was dropped, but yet everybody was fighting on the side rather than around the box.
Now, obviously, there is also the other game in this group happening at the same time on the other stream. So the live ranking in the top right, we'll get an idea, really, of the success story that's coming together. Obviously, it's early in the game, but Spoiler alert, if you don't want to know the results of the games that have happened earlier today, it's going to be a vague one. I'm not going to give specifics. There have been 3 games that have ended at 7-2 or below. Only 1 game has been more head-to-head than that out of the 4 we've seen.
That was 15 rounds.
And it was all the way. And we just cast that on the other screen. So we're here, and I guess that is potentially the first day pace. Teams are coming in, there's a lot of caution, it's a lot of balancing, and a lot of confidence building, which sometimes a rough day means you've got 2 games where you're rough and scared for.
It definitely is indeed. You gotta make sure that you are going to be able to at least pick up a win in a day if you want to make sure that you are going to be able to consistently push in for these groups, or just an average 3 wins is in a good position. You preferably want 4, of course. Either way, it is just the first game for many of these teams. We've had 2 groups so far. We're moving on to the next, and there is another group after this one that we'll be playing before we're doing it all over again. Jacuzzi Wall, however, opened up quite quickly here by Super. Thing is, however, Brede is watching it with a mirror window, so that means that Jacuzzi, well, it might have been opened up. It's not going to be something where they can actively try and contest from, because, you know, you have to use those Selmas now to get rid of those mirror windows.
Super is going for the steady approach here, obviously. They're still going for the clarity and control that they want. Shaiko, he's drifting. And they're going to see if they can cut this hold in half. It's a play of isolation. You're looking to see if you can limit the rotation that might come through construction as soon as pressure's applied to CC, which it is now. Rafal's going to pull himself into a slightly more debonair position at the top of the red stairs and hope that the angle potentially opens up across the spread as Alems goes for a bit of a wander, tries to offer some countenance in case they try and scream their way inside. But Soniqs, they're not overextending. They know that BDS are dangerous on 5 different prongs, so they've got to make sure that when they pick the fight with the first, they've at least blanketed it with some sauce.
Smart stuff here, just opening up as Rinchiro gets in a DBNO state. It's a grenade that was used, and a second one will be used now as Grixer spots out all the blood. It's actually Yeti to try and achieve that from below. Succeeds in doing so, and Rinchiro is the first one to fall, but Alem's still in that position to play the mirror window as Yeti's going up to that roof, so as Alems is still playing right below it. I'm not quite sure he gets the kill! And that is Grixer to take the fall, rather.
Yeah, I don't know if he was fully aware that there was a drone that watched him, but he was definitely aware that somebody was playing against the hatch. Another grenade attempt here from Yeti underneath. Doesn't quite get the connection with Alems, who is already very injured, but it's Rexon creeping his way across the top of the top stairs. He's going to see if he can lock off the brickwork and find some cement in the middle of it. But Alems has slivered and slunk his way into a new position to get a double with the spray of the SMG, and he's currently just finding, in and amongst the chaos, all these different 1 versus 1s that he's able to set himself up for, and suddenly, with only 30 seconds left, the body balance has gone into his favor.
Mirror window had been knifed by Super, so the one inside of the bathroom will not be that more beneficial anymore, as Kenson will be able to spot out a leg here. Brede will be able to find one as Shaiko gets picked up. It's one offside currently, it's one around the side. It's Brede that picks up the kill, goes quite low. However, Kenson now through the vault will be moving through, knows one will be inside of the showers here, but a peek comes in from the construction. The first one goes his way. It's 7 seconds left on the clock, but Rafal gets the final one, and it's BDS to lead with 2-0.
Just locked it out there for the team. Just found that final fight and the success between the 2. It was a good build-up from Soniqs, but the slow and steady pace of their attempt to close down and get that intel and try and find those individual players was punished by BDS, who weren't happy to sit around and wait. They didn't want to see what would happen. They're more than happy to lean into the fight. Obviously, the take on the leg to open up logistics to them was a good bout, and Windfall almost Soniqs, and almost as much better than it was on the first round. Can they finally tip that over on their 3rd attack and the tertiary defense site for BDS?
That's it, the tertiary site to come out. It's bar and stage.
Attackers need to locate and defuse
You love
as
it.
many bombs
I love
as
it,
they can.
yes. When we told Blue earlier that Vitality, for example, plays a lot of bar and stage whenever they get the opportunity. He's like, really? Do you guys see that a lot inside the EU? We do see it quite a bit. So it's going to be good to see how the Soniqs will be able to punish or not punish this site, because there's multiple assets to it. First of all, it's the strip club. That is going to be quite a stronghold for BDS. It's often played with 1, maybe even 2 players with a shield that reaches all the way through the end of the site, so you really have to deal with this position And second of all, it is the yokais that will be into place. There's so many little ways and little places where you can hide them, and they're especially going to be used near the stage area to stop any planting coming from the stage side. That is exactly what Rafal has just done with his yokais.
Now, with the extension coming over the top as well, it's a lot of this verticality. It's a lot of the hold and keeping an eye and an angle on anybody that makes an approach. And you may be curious as to why this change has come through. If you missed the map changes and the updates that happens with Club, there is more of a rotation around the backside of bar. The bomb side itself has obviously moved just tucked in onto the stage. It gives you options to hold from above, which previously you really awkwardly didn't. There was too many tuck and roll spots that you just couldn't offer the counter and support to. Here, as you said, Strip is that lockdown. It is that anchor to a lot of teams' holds, and that is what Soniqs are going to see if they can cut off the ship and hope that it drifts away from them for them to clean up and put a diffuser down or kill every single sailor that was on board.
Not sure if anybody's still in there, but the thing is you can no longer plant at the pool area, so even if you take Strip, you still need to continue. Remember the Lems, and that was Rafal digging in deeper into the bathroom. There is a potential of the angle being held off as the Strip is basically been taken here by the Soniqs. And now a different kind of hold will be present from the side of BDS. A little bit more vertical, a little bit more off-site. As these grenades are starting to come in soon. The question is, will they be able to... Is that a miss drone? That's a miss drone. They have not spotted out Lems right there in the bathroom, and he's able to really rotate out, but that could have been detrimental.
It could have been. I mean, Lems realized that he didn't need to be there, and sure, he might have been able to strike a bit of a surprise blow, but this early on, they're happy to let Soniqs sort of do their slow and steady, and instead offer some support onto this new sort of artery that pumps into the heart of the site itself. The staircase, that main brown brickwork, is going to be that bastion of the back hold to make sure that they have the rotation possibility of underneath if they want to go super bold, but they have the echo to Rafal to cause some trouble and some problems if Soniqs find themselves on a late plant. The Maestro cams as well to cause even more of a distress. It's sort of forcing a play and a pickup, and there as the sliver comes through, Yeti and Shaiko find butt heads, but neither goes down. Yeti had a bit of a finger boost to give himself a little bit more of an edge into the fight, and 50 seconds, they've still got to see if they can find that opener.
And they still don't have that opener, and the entire defense of BDS revolves around that main staircase. Almost every single member is around it, as a couple of them are, of course, above. Shaiko holding that hatch, stopping anybody to move in from that stage area. Lems now wants to go aggressive. It's the Yokai drone that gives away crucial information. There's a second one to come in, and Lems will pick that one up as well. It's a 5-on-3 situation. A member inside a Strip is being ticked down quite a bit, but Rexon, he decides to fall off and head towards Super as Brede, he's waiting for it in the bathroom.
Super gets one, tries to find the fight and the exchange onto the staircase, but 15 seconds, he's got the diffuser. He's going to wait for the smoke to pop, but Brede just has to time this, drops it, the diffuser's cold in the bathroom on the murky floor. Suddenly, they've got to find a fight, but suddenly, BDS has put the pressure on the time, the fallback, the play, and although Soniqs had got some ground, they hadn't got the BDS players who just needed to step back into the bar and say, this round's on me.
That's it. We had 3 members on those main stairs. We had one inside of the bedroom and then one just roaming around. And because of the fact that the top floor control was not established by the Soniqs, they could basically hold off every single entrance. They could have watched the stage through the hatch. From construction, they could have simply just stepped back into the bar at the very right moment. And just like that, BDS able to complete a full rotation. Church Arsenal, we're heading back down to that bottom floor. BDS, after they have locked it off successfully, are going to do it yet once more as soon as the unlock happened. And let's see if they will be successful yet once more. Super is going to be able to guide his troops to a victory here on the site.
So BDS, there for a second, flirted with the idea of CCTV, a site that once upon a time was everybody's primary, but since has fallen into a little bit of obscurity with the modern changes, because in this aggressive meta where you're seeing teams have a really good start, a really good foothold on their attacks, it's dangerous, because before it was expected for success to happen. You expect to see CCTV wall fall, then you expect the pressure onto Garage, or for some teams, if they're going for the opposite side, take the logistics side, which has now changed into obviously a single wall instead of the little finicky double walls. It became too tough to hold on to and play into the current meta, which is long stretches.
It definitely is. Also 2 of these EDDs, once more put down onto that door. we had before as well. Just one onto the dirt door, however, and are being placed on head level, you can almost say. It's quite strange to see. Normally you would try and put them as low as you possibly can, so if someone tries to swing around the corner, they don't really stand out, because right now it's going to be the first thing they see if they try and check those corners, and we'll try and clear it out as well. Might also be a logical choice, of course, that they will shoot, they will give away their position in that case. I don't think that's opened up properly. There's still a little bit left on the bottom that he needs to get. Yeti will have to revisit that one. There you go, it's being called out now, I think. Has to go prone for it. A lot of time's being wasted here. And the breach is just not coming along well.
Yeah, not entirely sure.
They got the bandit wires, so they can just...
They got the bandit wire, they have the possibility of opening it, and obviously they weren't going for the full Maverick trick. Instead, they'll let the Selmas pop and rock the rest of the world. They just needed the angles to be open, but a bit of a rotation, I think they thought they were able to catch themselves an angle. Here, Shaiko yet again suffers quite a lot, wasn't quite locked off. The C4 goes fishing, doesn't quite find anybody on the other end, but buys himself a second to try and fall back to potentially the top, and you see him drip down onto the stairs. There is still a player around logistics too. There is still work to be done on the top floor, but that allows Soniqs to sink their way in and slink around a little bit more of the control across the top here on Garage, but the site is on the basement. Always worth remembering, because the more you lose up here, the less you have when you want to go down there.
Let's say so much time is being wasted in opening up the breach and now getting the top floor control that there's just a minute left, and they still need to clear out the second floor right now. Renshiro is about to be sneaking up. There is a player that is on the other side of that door. They have a nitro available. The question is, will they throw it through? No, Renshiro will decide to keep it, and they're all falling back towards the side. The Soniqs now need to make sure that the first floor is clear. They need to trust on that fact, and surely some drones have already given away that information as the rest of BDS is starting to turtle in. Shaiko quickly checked whether or not the dirt tunnel is open. The silo was closed, and Dust is falling back now. It's not currently a threat.
Now, they still need to try and find that opener, and this was a problem that we saw in the previous round, but in this regard as well, they're finally able to do some of the structural work and damage towards the site itself. They have an idea of a moto take with potentially a bit of pepper and spice around the church wall and pipe side. There's the drop. There's a concern over the angle on the backside of Armory, but with this being open as well, it's Shaiko that tries to meet them eye to eye. Alem suffers next. Still 15 seconds, dropping those explosives on the door. They've got to see if they can find something. Swings, gets one. There's one close on the left and behind the bar, but it's Rexon for one more. The door is shut by Soniqs as they make sure that nobody gets the swing round. Renshiro bumps up, but Yeti finds the collapse, the final kill. 15 seconds, and it was by the wire. But it's the first they've got.
It definitely was. He had no clue they were planting right behind the bar. Otherwise, he had the opportunity of just hopping over, getting that kill, maybe even two of them. And then start and make sure that the timer would be running out, because the other players were not really in an opportunity or in a position where they could have quickly taken care of him. So, CCTV cache now being brought out by BDS. Deciding to not rerun it on that basement. They're going to go for a different site. The mirror is being brought out here as well. And of course they know that that wall will be opening up. There is a Twitch now, there is a Maverick, there is an Ace. A lot of utility will be there to try and open up those walls. And instead, what BDS decided to do is get off that bandit. We'll bring a mute, but I don't think the mute will be used to deny the walls, rather to deny some droning.
Well, Soniqs, you've been able to find your first, and I guess I'm hoping to see a little bit more confidence behind it, because it was a great take in the final 15 seconds, but it was built around winning your ones, which, to be fair, in terms of the gun skill on the team, obviously you look at the stats and you look towards the players that have been able to step in massively. You're looking at the sort of split of how the performance has gone for them, and I know there's all these talks about, obviously, Super and Yeti being these two players that have this experience, but that Rex and Grix duo, terrifying. Across NAL recently, plus 29, plus 26. That danger of those two finding confidence against a team like BDS, who every single one of them is a terrifying name on a server, that's what they've got to try and build into here on the first day, and you're hoping that that first round is something that lets them lean into the gunfights a little bit earlier and show some of what they can do.
I wonder what Lems is trying to do. I wonder if he's trying to go for a nitro through, because he's waiting close to it. He hears the exothermic now. He's deciding to fall off. He's not going to try and get the nitro through. Oh, he's opening up the mirror window though. It's just... Okay, so it's an even bigger hole now.
Yeah, there was the Twitch drone just drove through it as the exothermic was popping off. Whether they wanted to hope the exothermic would blow everything or not, I'm not entirely sure. It's made the breach a little bit more awkward, but again, as I said before, this
stays
wall,
awkward like this.
This wall, you expect it to fall anyway.
Your job is just to make sure that it's as ugly as possible for them to try and take fights through and to try and move through, because I think that's definitely what they achieved there with the mirror window. They are a bit more on edge when that mirror window's there. You know an impact could be coming through, which is something we've often seen. But not the case this time. Look at how heavy they're stacked up on the plateau.
They're trying to work out where the best place to approach is. We saw them do a bit of the work there. The grenade went close to drop anything that might have been on the door, and most notably, probably a mute jammer from the pocket of Breedy, I think was removed by here. Look at this, though. That is it, the lockdown. Shaiko's going to see if he can go for a bit of danger, as the arena gate's going to give him a little bit of support. But with that open, it causes problems. Rafale is sort of trying to meet them on the side and say, listen, you're not going to get much further, but neither does he. Gets dropped and is just going to sit there and wait as Shaiko now finds himself alone and isolated. But to be fair, it's an isolated spot, the rafters.
It definitely is. There is still the opportunity, though, for a Nitro Cell to come through from LMs to stop any plant from happening. So as long as Shaiko is able to waste some time on the mezzanines right here, that is going to be crucial. The smoke canister is there. Super gets dropped. Shaiko reloads quickly as Yeti picks it up again. But Kanzen, he dug in quite deep. He gets the secured kill. But Shaiko's still digging in deep right here, trying to go for the kill, but gets picked up from the door. But Renshiro's waiting there, gets that one, but just has 2 impacts to work with here. It seems like Soniqs have this one under control. They're starting to go for the plants, but they should be aware on the back of the actual things to come through. The bulletproof cam is going to give a spot, but Yeti, he survives for now.
That's it. He's able to find a new position. There's pings coming through, but they know now where he is. Soniqs aren't going to push that mantle of pressure, though. They're happy with the control that they've got. Yeti locks off the plant and finally finds a solid place. And Renshiro now, he's not quite able to go reverse fishing for what he wants. Yeti locks it off, and there is that confidence that I sort of wanted from Soniqs before. Built from the round previously, they had that opener. It was a little bit fluffed, but they didn't slow down. They threw themselves into the site behind, even then, a smoke that didn't quite connect the place and the location that they wanted to. And that bravery, that confidence, that energy is what you need on the day one of the groups of the major. And here it is starting up. And it's also worth sort of highlighting that the game that they did win at Mexico, the only game that they took points from, was their opener of groups against Team 1.
Well, that is the eventual champion, of course, but during the groups, Team 1 didn't look that super hot, to be fair, until the very final moments, of course, when they managed to make the incredible comeback story happen. And now Soniqs looking to start it off with a win. It's always a good feeling when you start off the major run. Just winning your first map, especially if it's against one of the favorites, because you cannot go around it. BDS is one of the favorites right now.
Unbeaten run in EUL, obviously a great performance at Mexico not too long ago, where they performed better than they did at SI, but they were one of the best performing teams from EUL at SI. The list of bridesmaid attendee events that BDS has to their name is long, and they're trying to break that. And this is, again, I know we said a lot, there's been a lot of tournaments where for people, BDS has been a hot favorite to the point where, you know, how long has Caliber Jacob been memeing of BDS takes it?
As long as it keeps memeing it, it won't happen.
But the thing is, that was a meme before
I know.
He was an analyst, and that's how long because he's been around at least forever now.
Yes. Very, very accurate as well. He's forever. What is time?
What is time? But procedurally moving on, and the 6th player for the defense here, and something that Soniqs has realized, sure, they took their first round on a very late execute, but I love that they've picked up a little bit more energy on their approach now, because that is what you want to see against a team like BDS, that confidence, that ability to throw yourself into a fight. They are tough to beat. But as we saw on the aim on a drone, not infallible. And that is what they're trying to push over here.
Of course, that Twitch drone has a lot more range now, so did take care of that first mute jammer. Wants to take care of some of these mirror windows as well, possibly. Thus will be sent in here. There's still a player watching though, so as soon as the drop comes through with that drone, it's actually Grixer that gets a spot out here. It's going to be a grenade that gets tossed in as well inside of the bathroom as Renshiro falls. And it's Green Day now in a very crucial position.
I like the smoke there that covers off the mirror window, but it allowed BDS to slip and sliver his way into a slightly different position. More walls are being popped open, but it's Grixa that pops one back. Shaiko is able to find a kill, and BDS dances with the idea of killing somebody out on the Jacuzzi side. Rafal has the cover on a long stretch of windows that nobody is currently watching, but with a minute 20, Soniqs have loads of time right now. And I know I've said it's the pace that I want to see change, but to be fair, the opening 2 kills at this point in their favor isn't something we've seen them able to drive home before. Now, they're looking to see if they can widen their hold just a little as Shaiko's crept his way onto the back of the gym, but gets spotted by one drone and drops a different one. It's actually BDS that swings wide, finds Yeti.
So now there's only one approach right here from the Soniqs as he managed to take down a flank, and that means it's coming from this area. Shaiko inside the gym is in a crucial spot right here to try and stop them from progressing any further. He can catch up 2 players right here as soon as they start moving in, as BDS is trying to hold off one here with the bailiff, but it's the smoke canister that blocks them off. Rafal picks up one. The pressure comes through the hallway. The pressure comes through the bathroom here. It's BDS to pick up yet another one. It's only up to Super now, and he gets shut down. BDS with a huge round is going to be making sure that BDS turn the tide yet once more and make sure that, well, the Soniqs do not get too much confidence.
Well, 4-2. 4-2.5. I love that we can... I don't know if you guys can hear the other dynamic EUL duo.
They called me and Blue loud. I'm just saying.
Who's on the other stream? It's currently NIP and Invictus.
Okay, yeah.
And it's Tim casting Latam, so...
Of course, it's wild.
You're going to expect the energy. No, it's great. It's always the fun thing about groups is they're literally just... I could throw something and would like to at Dez.
I don't think production would like it.
No, because there's a lot of very expensive...
Definitely.
And it would be
very accurate.
It would be a little bit of a blind shot as well. But no. If you hear them, there is obviously 2 games going on at the same time. It's a bounce back over the next 3 days across our stream and the Bravo stream. And I believe, and I think, if one game ends sooner than the other might get shown or something, I'm not quite...
Yeah, something like that. Like if we get a 7-0, of course, and the other one goes to round 15...
As we just had.
If we just had. We get hosted, or we will host them. So, of course, not happening yet. Both games are still going on. Nothing is done yet. But, you know, if one game ends significantly sooner than the other, you get to watch the others. We can start shouting here so you can hear them on their stream.
That's it. But for now, it's Soniqs that have been able to at least pull some of this back, and I want to see how this carries over onto their defense, because you're against a BDS attack, which to be fair can be pretty well put together. However, that mantle of pressure and pace now isn't in their pockets, and that was what struggled them at the very beginning of the game. The early 3 rounds that got threaded together. They don't have to try and drive that attack now. A slow slip away from what was an attempt on the peak. Doesn't quite get the connection that it wants. Shaiko with the finger is able to bring her reinvigorated position to the drive that he loves to rock. The LMG, though, I don't think we usually see him rock that.
No, definitely not, but maybe, you know, LAN is a different game, already set. Time to kill is just a little bit quicker, so who knows? Maybe that is why he's running the LMG now in combination with the Adrenaline Surge. Because it's 4-2, you know, this first round will be quite important. Mirror window on the spot. I believe it has been taken care of already. Just like the garage wall has been opened up in various places. There is suddenly no more opportunity to really rotate out through that window. And since there has been no rotation made into the actual wall itself, Rexon, he is basically stuck on those mezzanines and need to stay there and defend his life.
Long angles, long watches, and long drone sights. As you said, it's a very lonely game to play up in those rafters. It's a power position, but one that needs to be fished out. As the Maverick starts to work underneath them, it's Yeti that's going to go for a bit of a rotate towards Lounge to see if they can offer something back in terms of a firefight. Some support against that flat fight of Lounge. As Rafal...
Where is it?
It's...
I have no clue.
No, I think...
Oh, it's the left. Oh, look at that. It's a tiny, tiny little pixel. There you go. They got it now. And this is going to be a bunch of flashbangs being tossed over. The pressure is really coming down onto the mezzanines, but you have to be careful because there's a player inside of Secret, and that is going to be a headshot. You don't even need to use these grenades, but Yeti rotates in, tries to get these kills, but he misses every single shot, and BDS get a double opening here for free.
There is one more that's playing around Lounge, but they got pinged out just there for Shaiko. It's Rafal that locks it off. Grixa cannot quite get the connection. Suddenly it's a 5 versus 1. Kansan doesn't find anything onto it as well. And that is one of the reasons you see CC taken less. Not because it's become a weaker site, but because it was the strongest site for such a long time. everybody's mums got a great example of how to attack CZ.
Everybody's been doing it for years as well right now. So I think even, you know, I wouldn't say the casual ranked stacked will be able to defeat a team like that on the side, but they have a clue. They know how to attack because it is a clear step-by-step plan. It is literally, you open up the wall, then you go for a garage push, you get the mezzanines, and at that moment in time, you don't even need to clear the rest. Just make sure no one is playing below with nitros, and you can go in for a plant safely, nothing to worry about. And it's just a very simple step-by-step plan, and you just deal with the utility that is coming your way, like electric claws, like ADSs. It's nothing too complicated, really.
No. We're going to take this moment as they have attack pause, and you can see Jabrokaby having a bit of a word and a bit of a conversation with the team. They're a little bit disheartened, as you would be, but it's the first game of the group stages. You're in a very tough group. It's the best of the world come together, and your opening game is BDS. That's never going to be easy for any team.
It definitely won't.
That goes up against them. And then later on, who've you got? Oh, only reigning SI champions NIP.
Oh, just luckily they've been out of form. You can almost say, right? Like, or at least it seems like they're out of form. That is always the question. Like, they don't need to really perform during LATAM.
No. It's also worth sort of mentioning as well. Again, if you don't want any spoilers for the game results, cover your ears. 3, 2, 1. NA has lost every game so far today. It's 2 games, to be fair. It's 2 of 2 that they've lost, unfortunately, but it was...
Same for APAC.
It was a 7-0, and it was a 7-2, I believe. So there's also that little bit of that intercontinental pressure here. Soniqs could be the first to pull some blood from an opposing team. It hasn't opened the best way. They've had their timeout now. It's a 5-2. They have 1 lifeline round before they're looking at the possibility of losing.
Yes.
But to be fair, the moments that they've had a bit of confidence on their attacks, the later they got into their half, the more impressed I was by them, the more they sit in the server, the more they brought their fight.
Yeah, but then you had that defensive round where BDS just flawlessed them right away. They won every single gunfight. It was a lot of jitters, you can almost say, on the side of Soniqs, like just overshooting or just a little bit behind on the tracking right there. So it's unfortunate. You gotta hope that that doesn't happen again in this next coming round, and that is maybe where that reset comes in handy, because that is just quickly take yourself out of that rhythm you were in, warm your hands just a little bit more. Sometimes that's the issue. Just a little bit of cold hands could really be the difference there between winning or losing your gunfight. And as the Soniqs have decided to go to the basement, you do see a pretty heavy top floor utility use. That is, of course, there's not that many walls you need to reinforce. So if you manage to slow them down on that top floor clear, they're going to be using a lot more time and have less for the actual execute.
Now, with their eyes set on the top take here, they're going to see if they can try and stretch and put the pressure on the mantle. The hold that you see shown off by Soniqs right now is becoming a bit of a standard one in terms of holding across the top. You combine the Mute, the Mozzie, and the Vigil to waste a lot of time.
Yeah. You definitely do waste a lot of time there. It's just to get rid of their utility. We already knew the Mute Mozzie combination there. Shaiko gets the very first kill. Jordan Surge is being called as well, just to get himself back up a little bit. That allows him to take a singular extra bullet again, which could just be enough to win your next gunfight. And as the next ones are being used as well, he's probably just going to use them all 3 in a row here, as construction is currently under control of BDS.
Soniqs is slowly and steadily just sort of keeping themselves at a bit of a pace. They want to play a little bit of a confident, aggressive game here, but at the same time, the loss of the early body means that they can't overextend too much. And BDS are more than happy to try and play the aggressive game on their own side. They've done well here to waste as much time as possible. There's still a single body on the top of the red stairs, and they potentially have an extension, but the grenade that's about to bounce around is going to force them further and further down. Kansan is doing a fantastic job, but it's Rafal that finds the flank of Grixer. BDS have the angle of the top of the staircase, and Blue watch to the little box office is falling under their control. They're still wasting as much time as possible. Rexon can't stick around too long, yet he doesn't, as Bride gets 1 more for the BDS train. They're still slinking and slithering their way back to the site. Or are they, as Rexen is still the only body actually inside?
One of them is inside. Kansan still trying to go aggressive right here around the new blue stairs. Knows that that will be an entry point as well, but Rexen, you know, he comes in for a bit of support right here, but it's a 2-on-5 situation. Another stun comes through. They know he's in here. Shaiko gets dropped, however. Kansan stays alive for now, and he needs to decide to fall back at some point. There's still a grenade available here for Rafal to be used to try and dislocate them out of their current positioning, but they really need to pick this with 2 men at a time, or even 3, if they want to be able to make this happen. The grenade comes in, digs them deep in the corner, and Kansan will finally get dropped. And that means it's only up to Rexen now. He managed to hold it off for quite a while. He managed to hold them off for 2 men. And now Rexen, the last one standing, needs to make sure that BDS does not go to match point now.
That was it. I mean, it was very well played there from Kansan, but it now puts all the pressure onto the single player that is back on the site. We said they were wasting as much time as possible, and this is where it might come together. The impact explosion is going to give him a bit of an angle as they take the fight with the first, but there's
3 people
on the other side. And BDS, they clear, and they clean their way through onto map point. Soniqs, they've got a thread. There are next 4 rounds if they want to hit OT.
Yeah, they're going to get 4 in a row here, as that is going to seem quite difficult, especially with how BDS have been clearing them up, especially in this early game. Yes, the final minute, they managed to stall quite a bit. They managed to get quite a bit of damage down onto BDS, but that's basically it. Like, the late round seems to be quite okay with the amount of members they have left, but they just don't have any members left. That is the whole issue. So they need to make sure that that mid-round is just going a little bit better. Make sure you do not lose as many people, because BDS, you saw it here, they managed to pick up one of the flanks on top of the mezzanines. Then someone was watching a new blue, which made it even harder for Kansan to rotate back. And, you know, if they pick up one by one, suddenly the pressure was really coming around you.
Now, as they try and shake things up a little bit, they're going to head to the gym site. They're going to bring the Frost and see if they can waste that sort of time on the hop-in. Frost mats you don't expect to catch people, generally. It's nice when it does, and it's hilarious, but at the same time, it's like having the alibi on the window. It makes firefights awkward. It makes the hop-in awkward, that application of pace, because now you know if you try and go through that, you've got to aim down first. You've got to see if you can hit it and put some damage in. Bring that pressure towards the fight itself. Let's see if it's able to strike at some of BDS's pace.
That's it, BDS. Are they going to be caught up by the Frostmats, or are they trying to lock it off with a 7-2 here? A pretty similar setup compared to what BDS was running here, we see from Soniqs. Of course, the mirror window inside of the bathroom, it's quite default. When the mirror is available, you use it to the best of your abilities, and as you know, it makes a lot of sites suddenly a lot more viable, which is always nice to have. That's why she was banned so much in the past as well.
Yep, now there's just a lot that you need to sort of remove here, and obviously the gambit and the play was the Valk and the Kaid, instead of limiting the intel, limit a different kind of intel, that less static and more mobile possibility of Valk that can be offered into the hands of a team that loves to be mobile. But the cost is now on them as Soniqs try and pull themselves back in. The first of what needs to be 4 if they want to hit OT is going to start here on the slow and steady approach. Shaiko is creeping his way across the rafters in the garage. He's not in a rush though, sends the drone round and is going to look for some pressure and some intel across the top of red. Everything gets burnt out. They're going to see if they can dig that shield. Yeah, that's slipped on by. Shaiko gets Rexen. Grixer gets one back and hops out for a second attempt, but it's Shaiko that has the lock. Finally, Kansan puts some pressure back in and brings Soniqs back to a body balance 3 apiece. No! 3-2 as Alems gets the revenge.
Rotation being made inside of the gym hallway there from the bathroom. Could expect maybe the mirror window to be opened up as well by Kansan. No, actually leaves that closed for now. Suddenly has, currently actually has no use, so it would make sense to start opening that one up as Bride starting to put some pressure down onto the construction here with some of the Excaros. Need to at least get rid of Super, who is currently playing there Of course, a bit of pressure from below will definitely be helpful with that one. So Lems, of course, bring the buck, has the opportunity to do so.
Now, obviously, two explosives, different kinds in the pockets of Super and Kansan, and the damage already done to Alems and Renshiro means they can't really get close to either of them without instantly suffering. Alems is doing as much busy work as he can underneath to see if he can slowly open up and put some pressure down, but the fight is Super's. Inside the little walk-in cupboard, can't quite get the connection to Alems, who is just still dancing dangerously on that precipice of death. Kansan, in the meantime, is the back line with the big gun and the Elder as they reposition, but Super, taken by underneath Alems, digs the man out. Kansan is the last hope, but it's Brede that brings it home for BDS. Unfortunately, NA still cannot find that connection with a win, but it's BDS that makes sure they keep pace with their French compatriots taking the win earlier today.
They do indeed, and with that, they started the tournament like they should. According to many, they are a clear favorite, and now they have that first win in their pockets. They need to build from here on, and Soniqs, well, they need to reconvene, see what went wrong, and see if they can improve on some of these areas.
I think one of the takeaways that we have here from Soniqs, it was a tough opener. They were always looking into the growth that they had from the previous major, that they had from Mexico, and now we find ourselves in a situation of where do they go from here? They still have another game, they still have another opportunity. It's NIP, it's not easy, but it's still a chance.
There is still a chance, of course, and you know, everybody expects BDS to go through. There is still that second place that is up for grabs, and I mean, they didn't play bad. It was just that BDS under attack was just really strong because their attacks themselves, they managed to get 2 of these rounds. It's considered normally a good split. It's just that BDS was a little bit better on their attack themselves, so the 7-2 came in right there.
And it's still a continued story, because obviously we've seen these two teams butt heads before at Mexico.
Yeah.
Soniqs coming into this knew that they had a huge fight. They knew that there was all this pressure and all this danger for them to sort of show what they'd learned. They're still a new team, and they're in a very tough group with a lot of big dogs to try and fight their way through.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of big teams right here they need to go through. But before the breakdown, we'll be here by our lovely analysts. We are going for a short break.
What does it take to create the future of a gaming community? Join us on this 4th episode of I Call Next as we discover how to level up gameplay and reset the expectations of an entire league. PayPal. Press play.
Easy going right there. One more to go.
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six Major desk, where we just saw BDS, as we sort of predicted, no EU shill intended, roll over their North American opponents of Soniqs 7-2. Only 2 attacking rounds Soniqs were able to put together against a formidable European force.
And we said BDS choosing to start the defense. They got 4 rounds out in front, and then just from there they kick on. We know how good an attacking team they are on Clubhouse. Once they've got those 4 defenses, it was done and dusted.
I don't know if you can hear our colleague Ace from across the room, who is going absolutely ballistic, but when we get to the end of this segment, we will give you guys an indication possibly as to why he's going crazy when we go into the standings. Reminder that unfortunately there will be spoilers for those who don't like spoilers, so just be prepared for that. Before we get there, it's important for us to break down this match and maybe why Soniqs didn't look as strong. I would argue that against another team who isn't as formidable as BDS, they would have looked a lot stronger than they did today.
I think their attacks were somewhat one-dimensional.
Okay.
I think particularly those gym attacks that we saw where they're just coming out from the jacuzzi side. It requires you to win your gunfights.
Yep.
And you're taking these gunfights against these superhuman French guys that just do not lose gunfights. And I think they just needed to add a little bit of nuance to their play.
Okay.
Just a little bit of not being predictable.
You want more diversity?
Yeah. Just another dimension, you know. If you go in for a complete jacuzzi take, just go have one guy crouch walk up red stairs. Go find a little shoot them in the back type player. I think they've had a lot more successful with that. And yeah, I think that was their biggest problem on attack. Like I say, once it got 4-2 for BDS on the defense, this game was done.
Well, we did sort of comment on the rigidity of Soniqs going into this match. Unfortunately, that has been their downfall, which sometimes can be a strength for a team, which is a bit of a shame. But moving forward, they still have a capacity to move up in the standings. They get 0 points as a result of that loss. But for the European and BDS fans out there, that's us. Let's go. Woo! We get a full 3 points to put onto the standings for BDS. And it's seeming so far, albeit only 1 game so far, that BDS's group stage is going to be, you know, relatively easy for them yet again, because I expected Soniqs to be one of their tougher opponents in the group.
Yeah, like you've got Nip, who have struggled through stage 3. You've got Invictus playing with a coach. On paper, the hardest opposition was Soniqs.
Yes.
And BDS has just done away with them with absolute ease. So for BDS, it's probably just about just churning out these best of ones, getting through, and then worrying about Friday onwards.
The one thing I really enjoyed was some of the entry kills that Soniqs were able to get. Grixa, for example, you know, being able to drone himself in and then go, oh, I see the feet of this player, I'm going to snag that opening kill. What's unfortunate for the entry players and the space makers for Soniqs is that mid and late round, the rest of the players who are meant to work off that advantage did not.
Yeah.
They lost that advantage late way through the round, and as a result, they lost every capacity to win the rounds they probably should have with those openings.
It's problem solving, right? They solve the problem very early on of getting the entry, and the early round is good. They have an idea of what they want to do. They get to the mid round and they're presented with a problem, whether that be Shaika not moving out of gym. We saw Brede play the bathroom quite aggressively in the top main hallway. They're presented with these problems, and their problem solving, if it doesn't go their first method of solving that problem, they really stall out. And then they lose eventually to time, having to force themselves into sight. Even one of those rounds, the 4th round, the first church defense, first church attack, they looked very weak the whole round. The first round that they won, they looked very weak, and they just forced themselves through the breach and through church door, managed to win out the round. And that was it spoke to how they attacked the whole match.
Well, for the side of BDS, not a single player dropping below a 1.0 rating, which is exactly what you want to be as a team. You are at one of the biggest events that Rainbow Six Siege has to offer, and as a result, you cannot have any weak links in your team, because it will get manipulated before you know it. And guess who the weakest link is on the team of BDS?
Shaika.
Shaika? I can't believe I'm putting
Shaika's a weak link. Hello?
I feel like I should just put myself in reverse a little bit, because I don't want the French fans coming
Is that leaderboard upside down?
Whatever
Supports
it is.
near the top?
Yeah.
Fragger's at the bottom?
You say supports at the top. One thing I want to point out, and you pointed out Brede playing aggressive, he was playing on the Alibi a lot, which is, for those who don't know, pretty unusual for one of the best support players in the world. So it looks like that Storm nerf did absolutely nothing to Brede.
Yeah, those costs. I'm from BDS as well. They played Bar Stage, which is not a typical BDS site.
Oh.
We tend to see BDS play the more default, refined sites. We've not seen them throughout. They played Clubhouse 2 or 3 times during EUL. Not once they defended that. So they're bringing new stuff out of the locker. And that speaks to what we said in the pre-match about their adaptability, how they've got some new ideas on the game. They've got a coach in place. They've got a good support staff structure. And they're very hard to read as well, because Soniqs had no VOD on a bar stage defense out of BDS. They've just had to attack that on the fly, you know, with their IGL making up a plan as they go.
Well, that was the match summary, but I believe now it's important to work out exactly where the standings are. Spoiler alert, close your eyes, cover your eyes like it's a scary movie, like I do when I have to do the horror movie night, because we will go through the Group C and D standings. No spoilers on the screen. So technically I gave a false warning.
No, it is a slight spoiler, because it means the game's still ongoing. It's not.
So it means it's a banger on stream B.
Means it's a banger on stream B.
Okay. Which means that you can see Team BDS currently topping their group of Group C. Reminder, each of these groups can only play teams in their group unless they make it out of the group stage, which means the playoffs on the 11th. So the top 2 teams will move on to the playoffs. And at the moment, BDS is number 1. Soniqs with 0 points due to that outright loss will sit at the bottom. Big thing to note is that because we are running a dual stream setup throughout these next 3 days, that big, booming, loud UK voice you can hear from across the room inside my microphone is going to be from stream B. So if you do want to tune into that one, please go to twitch.tv/Rainbow6Bravo. After the desk here, you'll be able to farm your drops there as well, or bring them up on both of your screens, whatever works for you guys, because there are a lot of really important matches going on for every single group on both streams throughout the rest of these 3 days.
There are. There's a lot of Siege. 48 best of ones.
4-8?
4-8.
I can't count that high, so I'm going to leave all that number stuff to you. Yeah? All right. Well, we're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we get back, we have... what a surprise, yet another match to go through. It's the group stages and day number 1 of the Rainbow Six Sweden Major. Don't go anywhere.